My name is Gauvreau, and I'm with the Connecticut Coalition to End Indefinite Detention. Yesterday, in a 60-page ruling, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals threw out the lawsuit filed by Hedges, Noam Chomsky, and a whole series of journalists that challenged the indefinite detention provisions of the National Defense Authorization Act. What does this mean? This means that unless a now uninterested Supreme Court overturns this decision, the possibility of challenging in court the Obama administration's assertion that they can indefinitely detain American journalists or citizens on mere suspicion of some connection with someone they have designated as a terrorist without trial or due process, that possibility is nil. Now remember that during the life of this court case, the government refused, after repeated questions from a federal judge, they refused to say they would not use this provision against journalists investigating foreign wars. Now there was another NSA spying revelation yesterday during the congressional hearings on surveillance. The spy masters told congresspeople that they were using all this new technology to do triple hops out. What's that? Well, the government told Congress that what they do is search all the phone records of someone they suspect of terrorism, and then they search all the records of anyone this person called. And then they search all the records of anyone that that ring of people called. And then they search all the records of everyone who that third ring called. Soon they're investigating people who are 3 and 4 times removed from the original subject of their inquiry. As one journalist pointed out, since everybody on the planet is supposed to be related by only 6 degrees of separation, that's a rather sizable section of the population whose surveillance is generated by one subject. And of course, another thing that we have learned is that the real purpose of this massive collection of, as Glenn Greenwald told us, 1 billion phone calls a day, or the trillion email messages really celebrated, whose collection was recently celebrated by one tiny unit of the NSA, it's not for actively current investigations, but for retrospective diggings for dirt on somebody who's bothering them tomorrow. This, of course, is a total travesty of democracy. And on top of all that, the Obama administration has instructed all federal employees, on pain of criminal charges against themselves, that they must report fellow employees whose marital troubles or financial difficulties make them emotionally weak, unstable, and perhaps vulnerable to becoming leakers of government information. That's right, there's a massive McCarthyite program to force federal workers to turn in those who might be willing to leak government information. So the big question facing us with this Orwellian nightmare as it gains more and more detail in our minds is what to do about it. Yesterday's congressional hearings were the occasion for calls for greater transparency and more regulation. But there is no one in Congress today who's calling for wiping out this program. Some people called for more regulation, more transparency, called for reining it in a notch. But yet, as Deborah said, we hear from organizers that people are afraid to come into the street. Well, that's what the creators of this kind of spying want. They want us to self-regulate ourselves, to become observers rather than actors in our democracy. So we say no, we say it confidently. History tells us we can roll back government police state measures. We will roll these back. The lesson is today that we will end this assault on democracy when we convince huge numbers of people in the U.S. about the false premises of this surveillance, involve them in their own fearless political expression in the streets. And if you want to be part of this effort, please join the Coalition to Stop Indefinite Detention. There are flyers here about our next meeting in the second week of August. Thank you.